Ms. Van Duyne.
Thank you very much, Chairman, and thank you, Ambassador. I really do appreciate you coming here today. I'd like to start out by saying I do not envy your job. As you know very well, our trade agenda is important for the strength of around the world, and yet this administration does not seem to have an agenda. And I appreciate your response to Congressman Murphy, but it's not just Congressman Murphy, by the way, who has shown sympathy for your position. We've been talking to trade partners around the globe, and they've all praised your skills, but they've all said that they feel bad because it seems like you have been sidelined by this administration, that you would want to be more aggressive in making these trade agreements, but you're prevented from doing that. Last week, I joined the chairman and a number of my colleagues in Mexico. This was on the heels of incredibly concerning activities by the government encroaching on the rights of private and more specifically U.S. businesses. I'll give you an example. Vulcan Corporation had their deep water port seized. I've got videos. You've probably seen the videos. But seized because a state-owned Mexican company did not like the terms of a contract negotiation. They have a court order, and yet it seems as if this government has done nothing. Our government, our administration, has done nothing to respond to that abuse. As you know, the trade relationship between Texas and Mexico is so critical, but actions like this are detrimental. I appreciate you saying, you can be a strong voice, and when you speak, people listen, and that you are standing up for the United States. Where are you in Mexico? Are you standing up for the working families in Iowa, Nebraska, and South Dakota, whose livelihood is being threatened because President Obrador is falsely attacking them and their quality and their safety standards of their produce, which is in direct violation of the USMCA? Are you standing for the U.S. businesses who are encouraged to invest in Mexico with the belief that this investment would permit their much-needed help and much-needed jobs and much-needed security to the people of Mexico, but instead, these companies have been abused and lied to by the Mexican government with little or no response from this administration, who is charged with enforcing our trade agreements. I'd love to know your response to Obrador's claims that while Mexico is clearly not abiding by the terms of the USMCA, it's the U.S.'s fault because we are, quote, misinterpreting the conditions of the contract. And I would love to also know, are you standing up for the U.S.? While Mexico is partnering with China and Mexican drug cartels are being empowered and enriched to bring thousands of pounds of deadly drugs, fentanyl specifically, into our country that's targeting our youth and murdering over 100,000 American lives, all the while making hundreds of millions of dollars. Where's your voice in that?
Well, thank you for the opportunity to weigh in. Yes, we know Vulcan as a company very well, and we have been in very close touch with them and with the members of Congress whose districts and states are affected and are deeply invested in Vulcan's success. Here, I would say that we're in very good touch with.
Okay, well, I'm glad to hear that.
All right, on corn,
I do want to switch
consultation.
gears to China
You've
because
asked me
I know that
questions,
trade
and
has. Thank you. I appreciate knowing that you're in touch with them. But trade is a tool to improve workforce
you asked me if we're standing up for them, and the answer is
and I appreciate it. But
and on the
unfortunately,
drug
for the first
issue,
30 seconds
on the
of
drug
your
issue,
question,
that's
you took a lot of
an
time to say,
enforcement problem.
and I'd really like to be able to get an answer because I got 1 minute and 5 seconds left. Trade is a tool to improve some of the workforce conditions, enforce ethical business practices, and partner with nations across our globe, extend our global influence and partnerships, as opposed to having to use military intervention, specifically with China. Are we effectively utilizing our trade relations with China to achieve these results? Does China use slave labor? It's a yes or no question.
Do you want me to answer this one? I'm not sure. I feel like you already know the answer.
Does China use slave labor?
I think you already know the answer, so I'm happy for you to continue.
So I'm asking you. You're here at the hearing. You're a witness. Does China use slave labor?
Well, all indications are yes.
Okay. So are U.S. companies benefiting from forced slave labor?
All indications are yes.
Do you recognize the genocide of the Uyghur slaves as being committed in China?
All indications, yes, that is happening.
Okay, so how many coal plants is China building each week?
I don't know the answer, and that's not a yes or no question, so
I didn't say it was a yes or no question. I asked a question.
I defer to you in terms of the point that you
Okay.
would like to make.
And then I would also love to know why China's not being subjected to the same constraints that the U.S. is in the Paris Climate Accord.
Sorry, could you repeat that question?
Why is China not subject to the same constraints that the U.S. is in the Paris Climate Accords?
Which constraints are those?
I yield back my time.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Panetta is recognized.